so it's a desolate escape. What? There's still more? I thought it was the end. Okay. Tap tap. I were perhaps through sandals stepping onto the mountain path. With several tens of days since I had left home, and with each step I was farther away. In the past, I would have been scared to be far from home. But now I wasn't afraid at all. Because my home was gone and anywhere could be any home. My home. I wanted to find out why Dad hadn't come home, and I wanted to avenge my deceased family. That kept me going and made me get back up and continue forward every time I collapsed from exhaustion. Mom and my little brother couldn't accompany me for too long. They were quickly consumed by me. In recent days, when I was starving, I would dig wild roots or eat tree bark. I had to figure ways to find something to eat, keep myself alive. I recall Dad used to say I could reach the capital where the Emperor lived if I kept heading east, where the sun rises. There were endless food and where Emperor lived, so there would definitely be no famine. As for Grandma, she said the further south I go, the less likely there would be famine. It's hot in the south and there's more water there, so people would have lots of food, rarely worry about going hungry. I thought about what Dad and Grandma said and decided to listen to Grandma first and go south. Once I reached a large town, I planned to ask directions from again, and from there I might go east and continue south. Perhaps it was because I was alone and I kept walking in the mountains. After a long while, I was like a mute since I didn't talk for a very long time. I was scared to go on the main roads because I was scared of bumping into the people who were trying to flee and the ghouls. I often chatted with Mom and Dad first left home for a long trip. They reminded me and my little brother that we needed to stay away from ghouls. Some people who tried to flee from the famine lived like ghosts. They were hungry all year, round and would eat anything. I'd seen ghouls when Dad and I were on the way from Guancon. Those people fixed their gaze on me like I was a gold ingot. Back then, I thought they were eyeing me to kidnap me and sell me for cash. But now I see things differently. They probably would have sold me if they kidnapped me. They would cook me alive and eat me. After walking for a few days, I saw there was a tree bark on the trees around me and grass sprouting from the ground. One night, I discovered an open area in the wood. There were traces of fire and cooking, indicating that someone had fire here before. It was cold at night and there were even distant sounds of wild animals, so I decided to start a fire and rest here. I picked up dry firewood nearby and piled them up before I used a flint to make the fire. Grinding. I tried many times and my fingers were rubbed white and calluses, but I finally managed to light a small flame. I squatted down next to the small flame, shielding it from the wind since I was afraid that it would be blown out. After a while, the small flame grew bigger and bigger. At first, it was the size of a finger, then the size of a palm, then the size of a head, then finally, I got the fire going. So hungry. What should I eat today? Mom or little bro? All trees are nearby have tree bark. I could eat some of that. Or not. I hadn't been able to find clean water recently. It had been 2 days since I drank water. Eating tree bark without drinking water would accumulate the tree bark in my stomach and it would be impossible to get it out. Eventually I would die with a huge stomach as if I was pregnant. Never mind. I'll see if I can find a river where I can drink from tomorrow. There should be some edible fruits by the river. I lay down and looked at the sparks dancing up and down, hoping I could dream of finding a river. Go. The moment I closed my eyes, I heard a shout coming from a distance. It sounded like someone was shouting at the top of his lungs to give direction to someone else. Who was that? I hastily stood up and to see someone moving the distance and running towards me. There were 2 people. They were running towards me at a fast pace. When I spotted them, they were still several dozen steps away from me. However, just when I was about to run, they already got close to me. The bonfire lit up their faces, which startled me. Couldn't tell how old they were, but they were probably older than Dad, a bit younger than Grandma. I probably called them uncles. They were unkempt and hunched over, skin and bones, but with huge stomachs. I could tell from their gleam in their eyes that they're very dangerous. I couldn't call them uncles. They are ghouls.
是啊，是娃子。
One of them grinned at me, revealing a mouth of uneven and yellow teeth, and the other one lunged at me directly and tried to grab hold of me. They were ghosts! Ghosts that ate kids! Run quickly! Quickly ran to the woods and I clearly saw their faces. However, even though they were really thin and short, adult strides were still longer than mine. I was thirsty, hungry, and without much strength left, I then accidentally tripped and fell into the grass. I fell to the ground and two ghosts immediately pounced over and pinned me down. One of them held me down to stop me from moving. The other one grabbed my piece of torn cloth and wrapped it around my wrist, attempting to wrap my hands behind my back.
好啊，真的是娃子，刚吃了一个，又能吃一个。
Poor kids!
吃娃子，吃娃子。
And they tied my hands up and mumbled some insane words. Over now, I was captured by the ghouls. Going to be eaten. I got scared instantly and wanted to resist, but they had me completely pinned down. I couldn't even move a muscle. My hands were tied behind my back. The ghost herded me like a sheep into the small cave under the nearby mountainside. You can still run, right? Like, your hands are just the one day being tied up. It was close to where I had camped earlier, but probably 300 steps away. Walking along the mountain path to the cave entrance, I realized it provided a perfect vantage point overlooking the spot where I had lit my fire moments ago. I felt a deep sense of regret. If I had started the fire earlier, perhaps they wouldn't have spotted me. I should have realized this. If there were signs of fire, it meant there were people nearby. No matter how much I regretted it, it was already too late. In the cave, there were various odds and scattered about. It was very dark, so initially I couldn't make out what they were. Even the ghosts threw me in the corner, they started a fire, and flames illuminated the cave, and I started by what I saw. There was a mess inside, with clothes and miscellaneous items strewn all over the floor. In the center of the cave, there was a large pot. It emitted a foul odor and it was still cooking. Beneath the pot were burning human bones, while inside the pot human flesh simmered. Judging from the size of the bones and meat, this seems to be from a child. Witnessing the scene, my face turned pale and tears quickly filled my eyes. Because I sort of guessed what would happen to me next.
怎样？一会儿也把你给煮了，也会是这样。
The ghoul looked upon from afar and approached me with a smile.
是啊，你这小女娃看着脏，但应该还挺好吃。
Ew. The other girl laughed and started eyeing me with glinting eyes. I was so frightened by them that I cried and begged them not to eat me. But I insisted my pleas wouldn't change anything. Instead, they only fueled their laughter. After crying for a while and seeing no signs of mercy from them, I was planning to resign myself to my fate. My tears went dry and slumped weakly against the rocky wall of the cave. Well, they were going to eat me, at least I'd be able to see Dad and Mom. And little bro, don't forget your little bro. That's what I was thinking when I leaned against the wall in the cave. However, it turned out much like many events that followed. Whenever I thought I was going to die, I always end up surviving. These two girls saw how I was crying and making scene and thought that I was no different than the other kids, so they let their guard down. As they still some meat left in the pot, I couldn't finish them so quickly. So even though they said they were going to eat me, they didn't kill me right away. The duva tidied me up a bit quickly and went to sleep. They were snoring so loud, like lightning, making it hard for me to fall asleep. But of course, I didn't want to fall asleep either. I didn't want to just wait for my death to come. I was really frightened, but I still tried to move my position and rubbed the cloth behind my hands against a protruding rock in the cave. After grinding for a while, I tore through the skin of my hands and started bleeding. But at the time, the piece of thorn wore away. I could now move freely in the cave. After that, I didn't sneak out and tried to escape from the cave. I hesitated for a bit before I picked up the dagger and stabbed at one of the ghosts who was sleeping soundly. Putting all my strength into it, I also pressed my weight into the knife. It went in deep, piercing through the girl's neck, and he let out a groan before collapsing dead on the ground. The other girl, awakened by the sound, was still groggy from sleep and confused in the darkness, not understanding what was happening at first. Seizing the opportunity, I rushed forward and stabbed him too. He was struck by my attack, cursing angrily in language I couldn't understand. He tried to grab my knife, and I lunged him again, stabbing him a second time, this time in the belly. Bleeding profusely, fear finally overcame him, and he attempted to flee. However, he accidentally tripped over a bone, stumbling headfirst into the pot. "Still cooking with meat?" He thrust around a bit and couldn't flee from himself from the pot, he quickly running out of breath. He cooked himself! What? After that, even though I was hungry, I refrained myself from eating the girl's flesh. I was afraid that if I ate her flesh, I would become more and more like Go. So I picked up from fruits they stored in the cave and left, heading further south. Ever since I was almost eaten by the ghouls, I no longer felt the mountain paths were safe. Started searching for the main roads to travel on. When walking along the main road, I would pay close attention to the sounds around me. At the slightest hint of human voice, I would hide and wait until they paused before I got on the road again. Further south I went, the better situation became. The trees along the roadside, pretty much all the tree bark and wild grasses and fruits were abundant and easy to gather. However, every once in a while, I still encountered people lying by the roadside. They were all dead. Some died from eating something poisonous. I wasn't sure what they ate. It might have been unsoaked tree bark or cowl at night, causing their bellies to swell grotesquely, resembling pregnant women as they lay down on the roadside. Some were victims of violence, their body covered in blood, bearing multiple wounds. Dogs and birds gathered around them, feasting on their internal organs. Whenever I walked past a corpse, I would check their faces. I wanted to see if they were my dad. Throughout the journey, I often asked around my dad's whereabouts. I would ask around whenever I went. After I escaped from the ghosts, I arrived at a place called Fuzu. I mean, how would you even ask your father's whereabouts? Like, "Hey, have you seen my father?" Like that? Isn't that so general? I asked the locals there if they've seen my dad. The folks were told me there were too many people like that. See? That's what I told you. Making it impossible to start searching and advised me to give up. After this, I'm going to Beishu and Pucheng. The folks in Beishu told me it was common for families to be separated since people from all cities were fleeing from famine, and there was no need to search further. And the people in Pucheng told me Dad was probably taken away to fight in the war. The border conflicts were escalating and he must have been conscripted into the army. I didn't believe it and kept going south until I got to Weinan. Hi, Grandpa! I ran out of the food store after I got to Weinan. So I slept under a broke roof next to the inn. I slept there an entire day until it was the inn's closing time. Until an old chef from the inn woke me up.
干嘛呢？哦，是个小女娃。小女娃，你怎么睡我们店旁边了？
The old chef looked at me annoyed and asked, gesturing as if ushering me away. I leaned against the inn's wall with my arms around my knees and then looked up at him without saying a word. It's been many days since I've talked to someone and it didn't feel like talking now either.
你娘呢？啊，怎么不管你啊？
About that, he asked me again and I shook my head.
原来是个哑巴。
Oh, I see.
走吧，啊，先跟我进客栈吧。
So that's where you get your
天要冷
nickname.
了，睡外面会冻死你的。
The old chef told me that while he reached over to pull me into the inn. I went to the inn and the old chef. He made me some stuff to eat. I totally devoured it and didn't even any for him. He realized I wasn't mute only after I ate it and said thank you to him. I told him everything about me. I told him I was a northern Shanxi and in severe famine. Everyone in my family died except for Dad, who never returned home, and I had no idea where he went. And now I was fleeing from the famine while searching for Dad. After the old chef heard my story, he let me sleep in the inn storage room. The next day, he told the innkeeper that he needed help and wanted to hire me as an assistant. He pleaded with the innkeeper for a while, but upon hearing that I didn't take any wages, the innkeepers agreed. So I had a job, and it was my first time having a place where I could stay long term. I assisted the old chef in the inn, mainly helping me with the tasks like washing vegetables, cutting meat. Sometimes he would even teach me to prepare simple dishes. I didn't take any wages and was content with just eating leftovers each day, which made things easier for the innkeeper. Over the time, the old chef grew accustomed to my presence by his side and began to see me as his apprentice, gradually passing on his skills to me. Oh, that's why she knows how to cook. His impression of me shifted from being stray kitten with nowhere to becoming his disciple. I just for him changed from impolite old chef to grandpa chef. Time flew by fast. Unknowingly, I spent 6 months working as an assistant cook in this inn. Grandpa Cook treated me well and sometimes I even felt reluctant to leave. However, whenever I thought my father and the other family members who had passed away, I felt like I definitely couldn't continue my journey. After 6 months upon hearing some remarks from the inn's diners, I set out on my journey once again. The inn had many people coming and going. The kitchen wasn't far from where the guests ate. So sometimes I helped Grandpa cook in the kitchen. I would also listen to the conversations of the guests. The guest's words caught my attention. He mentioned that the entire Shan region is in turmoil with many people suffering from disasters. Some people even become rebels while others turn into bandits. Those bandits would rob travelers on the road, taking money from men and assaulting women. To avoid leaving witnesses, they usually didn't spare anyone they robbed. And these bandits also shared characteristics. They often stayed in the mountains for long periods and would quickly grow weary of it. They would frequently come down from the mountains to experience the hustle and bustle in the red lights districts. When it came to the best nightlife spots in Shan region, none could rival the Yangyue, somewhere in the Shang'an city. Almost all the bandits had been to Yangyue Tower and it was like their headquarters. If the official soldiers ever decided to raid it, they would definitely capture the numerous leaders in one fell swoop. Red light district Shangyan Yangyue Tower. I remember those words even though I didn't understand them. I finally got some clues. If there was no news of my father, he'd likely been captured by bandits or murdered. I want to ask about my dad, which meant I need to learn about the bandits. And to do that, the Yangyue Tower in Shangyan seemed like a good place to start. Oh, no, Grandpa.
明天要走了，
走？婉儿，你要去哪儿啊？
You know, if you just stay with your grandma, everything will be cool.
要去找爹爹了。
有下落了？有什么下落呀？不会是要去危险的地方吧？
大概不危险，我要去长安。
哦，长安还好，那里安全些。你一定要去吗？
我想找爹爹，一定要去的。
行，那你就走吧。啊，走之前我多给你备一些吃的。
谢谢爷爷，我以后会常来看爷爷的。
不用，你要是能找到你爹爹，就快去找他吧。啊，别整天像个小野猫一样到处乱逛了。
Oh, Grandpa, I'm going to miss you.
我这身老骨头也没几年可活了，过一天算一天。哎呀，明天又得去找新帮工喽。
Could have stayed with Grandpa. Grandpa sighed, pounding his back, and walked away. The next day, Grandpa's chef made me some stuff to eat, especially wrap. A package for me. Accepted the package he handed to me, thanked him, and embarked on a new journey. Huyan in Weinan. Before I left, I glanced at the in-store plate. If I ever pass Weinan again in the future, I must come here and visit Grandpa Chef. Now we're all dead. Oh my gosh! It's just guts there. Let me look at the flowchart. I think... Ooh. Oh, wait. What? Wordless. Conclusion. Fireworks to be alive. Desolate escape. Finish lang siya. Reach medium affinity. Reach high affinity. Oh, reach maximum affinity. He died. Achieved 2 endings except died in halfway. What? Achieved 2 endings except died in halfway. To finish body starved. Block. Also, we need to like build our affinity with. Yeah. So we need to. We need to build an affinity with her. I see. So like, if we and this like part achieved 2 endings except died in halfway. Maybe this is these 2 endings, right? Or maybe this. Like another chapter of Sway. So we need to hold her hands, guys. I need it like the maximum affinity. So I think like going back to the place where where I said that I regret everyone that I killed before would make a change on the flow. Or maybe I should try it first. I will load back there and then try to gain her favor. But like I said, it's like there's ending with maximum affinity. Then I didn't really get into the medium affinity of her. I didn't reach her medium affinity. And this is high affinity. And this is maximum affinity. Yeah. I wonder if I just load it and maybe this another ending? Yeah, I will try to load back there and then try to go from the start and then gain her affinity more.